Welcome back to another episode of the No Name Podcast. It is your boy Rich back again with another episode, and today we've got a lot to discuss. A lot of hot topics happened this weekend, a lot of good football, a lot of crucial wins, crucial losses, a lot of upsets. Obviously, on today's episode, we're going to be discussing Cowboys losing on the road to the Miami Dolphins. Lamar and the Ravens put the Niners to sleep. Brock Purdy, hot takes. The Raiders 4-3 with AP, Antonio Pierce. Defense has been looking very nice since Antonio Pierce has taken over. We're going to be going over our top 10 team tiers going into the week 17 and a Thursday night football prediction. And we'll get into a little bit of Super Bowl fun, Super Bowl favorites, along with prize picks, plays of the day. I got to support all my gambling degenerates out there. So, let's get straight into the video. The Dallas Cowboys going to Miami with an upsetting loss, losing to a last-second field goal, and again, Dallas moves on to 3-5 on the road. This Miami defense, his pass rush looked elite without Tyron Smith playing. They were terrorizing Dak for the entire game. This pass rush did look ruthless and relentless this weekend. I don't think that's truly who they are or how good they are going to be in the playoffs in these last couple of weeks against some better teams, but that's exactly how they looked. They were constantly getting after Prescott, keeping him under pressure, never letting him get settled in that pocket. And when you're playing a team like Dallas, who's so Dak reliant, it was the key crucial part to this offense, to this defense. And Miami went out there and did that. Again, the Cowboys had a chance with the Niners loss to jump up into tying for that 1 seed, and at least compete for a 1 seed. But after losing in this type of fashion, you set yourself up in a worse position, moving from not only the 2 seed to the 4 seed. And now you are sitting behind Philadelphia, and you're hoping Philadelphia loses to the Giants or one of these teams that they're going to have to play. And so now you put yourself in a tough position. We already know the Dallas Cowboys are not a very good road team. They play very good at home in their own backyard when they're playing with all their fans, and on the road they've like I said 3-5 this year, and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. You're going to be going to have to play on the road the entire playoff run if you get that far, and that's not something obviously Dallas wants position they want to be in. They had an opportunity to take a step closer into securing that 1 seed and even challenging for that 1 seed, but they just could not get it done at the end of the day. But a lot of this has to do, Dak and Tua put on decent performances. Tua had a decent game, 293 and 1 touchdown. Dak, 253 and 2 touchdowns. But the big crucial part to this Dallas Cowboys offense is the fact that their run game is just terrible. It's not there. Tony Pollard was supposed to be the guy to, fill that void of Zeke, and he has not been that this year. Last year there was some hope of what he could become, but again, there's just not enough from him. He's not a number 1 back. He's not a 3-down back that you're going to give the ball to get those short yards and punish the defense running the ball with 20 to 25 times a game. And it's known, it's given, it's visible. You can see this. Tony Pollard only has one 100-plus rushing performance on the year, which is just unacceptable for a team like Dallas. You have to be able to run the ball against these hard-nosed teams like Philadelphia, like San Francisco, like the Baltimore Ravens. These teams, they all dominate the line of scrimmage, and you have to be able to do that when it comes down to it, to close out some of these drives, to lay off and give, take some pressure off of Dak's shoulders. Because right now, it's this team is all based around Dak Prescott, who he has to do sometimes a little too much. He's forced to be in a position where if he doesn't play at an MVP caliber performance, then this offense is in trouble. It's not going to perform. It's not going to score points like it needs to. And just not having a number 1 back is a key part of that. Just take some pressure off Dak Prescott and let him use the run, let him use the play action, and just make it easier for him and Mike McCarthy. Get CeeDee Lamb some more open looks instead of having to throw the ball 35-40 times a game. Look at Dak Prescott's best, most efficient years was when he had a number 1 running back in Ezekiel Elliott. Those years he had Ezekiel Elliott, who was 1,400, 1,500 yards a season. That was when you seen Dak Prescott and his Cowboys team really make some noise, and you seen Dak Prescott look his best. He looked comfortable. He looked like he just had a lot more time and just was never having to do too much. I mean, you see the same situation in Buffalo with Josh Allen. Josh Allen is forced to be Superman every single play, and now you get put in a position to where, Dak Prescott is not that type of quarterback to where he wants to do that and he needs to do that. He's not Patrick Mahomes-esque. He's not Josh Allen's-esque. He does not have that type of X factor. He's been doing it for a while against some tomato cans, not very good opponents, right? So you can get away with it for a bit. But once you start getting to these better teams, these offenses who have playmakers and who can score fast, and these teams like Philadelphia and San Francisco and the Baltimore Ravens who want to run the ball. They want to pound the ball, ground and pound. They want to, control the tempo of the game, and all these factors play in when you go in, especially being on the road throughout the playoffs. You got to be able to slow the other team down, make them play at your tempo, and things like that. And it's just not looking good for Dallas going forward. The Baltimore Ravens go into San Francisco. They go into Santa Clara Levi Stadium, 5.5-point underdogs, and they go in there and handle straight business. They embarrass the San Francisco 49ers on Christmas night. An absolute beautiful performance by the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, just played on both sides of the ball. They came out here, they took care of the ball. Lamar Jackson showed his ability to use his feet to extend plays and be Lamar Jackson as that dual threat quarterback that we love and we know and love to see. Then Baltimore as a team ran for 102 yards. Lamar Jackson 252 passing yards, 2 touchdowns on his very own. Again, just a very dominating one-sided performance. I mean, there was a lot to look forward to for this Baltimore Ravens team. I mean, you've heard a lot of talk about these guys are not as good as what they appear to be. A lot of criticism toward the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson in particular. And he just went out here. You had an opportunity to watch 3 quote-unquote MVP contenders, MVP people in the MVP discussion face off against one another. And again, Lamar Jackson goes out here and just proves he is the best player on the field again. I mean, Lamar Jackson did not miss a beat. He went out there on the road and just delivered a performance that for a performance of the year. I mean, this was a dominating performance on all aspects of the ball. They came out here and just did exactly what they wanted to on offense. I mean, Lamar Jackson, a lot of people have been talking about his inability to pass the ball in the beginning years of his career, and he's not the greatest of passers, even though now he's switching to this pass style offense in Baltimore, and so you need to see him take these strides. But I mean, he delivered on the biggest stage possible, took advantage of that weak secondary that San Francisco has been known for in the past, and again, I mean, this can just be scary for teams going forward. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens are one of the best run offenses in football, and they only ran for 121 yards 102 yards on the day. So, there's definitely they would like to be more involved on the ground. But I mean, when you have a team being able to dominate on both sides of the ball, force turnovers, and just play ahead the entire game, it just makes their style of play so easy. I mean, with Lamar Jackson at the helm of QB, you can just do so much on offense to, keep the ball out of the opponent's hands. And now you're forcing someone like Kyle Shanahan, who was taking a lot of criticism when it comes to playing behind in games and being forced to come back from behind and call up plays that are going to help you come back and do these things. And then you start seeing Brock Purdy, unable to make plays when it matters most in a situation where you are forced to throw the ball down the field. And this style of West Coast style offense that Kyle Shanahan is known for, it starts to struggle. You start seeing these weaknesses. You start seeing maybe a team like Philadelphia gets out early and just rides the wave and then just closes it out, like we've seen Philadelphia do, Dallas is not a team I'm going to bring in this conversation because we know San Francisco owns Dallas. It's not even a debate. Dallas has got to go in there and just compete at this point. We've already seen how those matchups worked out in the past 4 years. Okay, but I mean, this is definitely a concern. I mean, because listen, it's not like this game was out of hand, like very a blowout type game. It was not. Although there were 5 turnovers in the Baltimore Ravens' favor, the San Francisco 49ers were in position to score. The first turnover Brock Purdy had was in the red zone after George Kittle took him down the length of the field, and he goes out there, first play in the red zone, INT, which was the only interception where he actually just straight up just missed it. Made a late throw, was a bad throw, bad read, late throw, didn't have enough arm strength to really put it in there, boom, and got intercepted. Okay, other than that, the 3 other INTs were just unfortunate. I mean, 2 of them just bounced straight in the air and just so happened to land in Kyle Hamilton's hands. All right, so I mean, that's just part of the game. It happens sometimes. I mean, you see those plays all the time in football. Something gets swatted up and just balls just go straight in the air. All right. But again, obviously, this game would be a much different story if there wasn't. If there wasn't 5 turnovers in the game, especially in crucial positions. Every time there was a turnover, it just felt like it was as soon as San Francisco had started to build a little momentum on offense, started moving the ball, moving the sticks, started getting McCaffrey going, and then you just couldn't close out these drives, which is ultimately just going to be a problem. I mean, especially with San Francisco, we already know Kyle Shanahan is not a good team playing from behind. His record coming trailing in the fourth quarter, by 10 or more points is not good. It's I think he's only got like 1 or 2 wins in that type of fashion. So there's a lot of blame to be put on Brock Purdy. Yes, the 4 interceptions are 4 interceptions at the end of the day. That's going to be tagged to you. You are the quarterback. You are the musician in this act. You have to control everything, where the ball gets to and how the ball comes out and all these things. Everything at the end of the day does rely on your quarterback's shoulders, but a lot of it can be put on Kyle Shanahan when it comes down. Because, I mean, if you look at his play calling in the second half of that game and when they got down early, it did not look like he really, let Brock Purdy, let it loose and just start taking some shots and just start moving the ball downfield, because, I mean, at this point, people already question whether he can do it on his own, whether he can make those type of plays, make those type of throws, all right? And now we're questioning whether you can coach from behind, all right? Coach without a lead. And so now you have an opportunity to go out there and just let it loose, just go, let some stuff happen. You have 4 All-Pros on offense, three, 4 All-Pros on offense: Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk may not be an All-Pro, but he's playing like one. He's playing like an All-Star, like a Pro Bowl player. So you have all these weapons on offense. Go out there and just let it loose. It's not that hard to go out there and just run some spread offense and just go out there. I mean, you have a running back who could play receiver, and you have everything you need to start becoming a more pass friendly offense if the situation calls for it. But I mean, you just don't see him let Brock Purdy loose. It just seems like he is on a leash, and anytime he, obviously people are going to take a lot of, blame on him, saying he's garbage, he's this and that because of the 4 interceptions. But again, I just feel like a lot of it has to do with coaching. It looks like when something like that happens, Kyle Shanahan just, in some sense, loses all faith in Brock Purdy. It just looks like there is no confidence in him to bring you back in a game after having a poor performance like that. I mean, it's not like it's impossible to come back from, especially in a game like this. I mean, it's not like you guys were getting, your defense was just getting slammed the entire time. It was just unfortunate turnovers that just gave Baltimore Ravens more opportunities to score, right? When you have 5 more possessions than the opposing team, you're going to score some more points. It's just going to happen. But again, I mean, some interesting questions going forward. I've never been a person to say Brock Purdy is the most talented quarterback in the league. I've never put him in a top 5 quarterback discussion just based on pure talent and just ability to make plays. He was at that type of level due to his numbers, due to his imprint on offense, his ability to add to a more explosive offense than what they had to Jimmy G and what they had in the past. This offense has elevated. You can say he's elevated from the players he's playing around, but he's taken advantage of the opportunities and the people he's playing around. So you can't discredit him for just playing in the system and just being what his team needs him to be. And obviously, listen, at the end of the day, he's still at around 18, 19 starts in his NFL career. So he's still young. He's still raw. He's still got a lot to learn. I mean, Tom Brady a lot in his early years. You've seen the defense really stepped up and was a key vocal point to his success early on and what allowed him to get to a lot of these Super Bowls. I mean, obviously Tom Brady always had the it factor, the comeback factor, the person you could rely on to set you up for a game-winning field goal, a game-winning score. All right, he was known for that. He always had that in him. But it just doesn't look like Brock Purdy has been given the full, the Kyle Shanahan does not trust him. Bottom line, and that's just, and you can just see that in the play calling when it comes down. You start seeing him take underneath routes, dumping stuff off, and just getting all this short stuff, and just kind of calling it quits at the end of the day because it didn't look like they were truly trying to come back in this one. Antonio Pierce is now 4-3 as the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. And now we get into the discussion of whether he should be keeping his job as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And listen, let me tell you, I heard Keyshawn Johnson talking about it on with Colin Cowherd. You've got to sign him. You've got to give him a year or two to prove himself, a full year or two. I mean, he translated this defense, which on paper was sitting around, 18th, 15th to 20th in that range. A defense who we did give up a lot of yards and we did not look great. I mean, it looked like outside of Max Crosby, we had no sort of pass rush help. We still give up a little. Last Sunday, we looked at, on Christmas, on Monday, we looked remarkable against the run against Isaiah Pacheco and that Kansas City offense, that creative offense who's been known to be able to run the ball. And we've looked solid this entire year. We have not looked great, but we look better compared to last year. So compared to last year, we're bottom 32 in almost every single category. I mean, it's great to see that we're taking these strides forward, building our defensive pieces, adding some pieces, and some of our defensive players that we've drafted starting to develop into some long-term starters. I mean, Nate Hobbs is one of those guys. He is a highly ranked slot nickel corner / DB. I mean, he goes in there and just handles work in the nickel, in the slot, and he'll go up, line up against your tight end. And I just love him playing. I love his style of play. I love most that he comes down. He's not scared to tackle. Meek Robinson, another guy who's 5'8", but he's not scared to come down and tackle. He is not lockdown Jalen Ramsey type defender, but he can make plays on the ball. He can go out there. He could, be a little ball hawk, come down, make some stops when we need him, and he's not scared to come down and make a tackle, which is what I love most. We just got Jack Jones, signed him off the waivers, got waived by New England, and I thought New England really let him go for nothing. They should have at least kept him there or kept him around because I think he looked great in his early time there in New England. Bring him on, boom. What does he do? Instantly becomes a starter because Marcus Peters is out, and in just 2 back-to-back weeks, he's got a pick 6, and it just, can't be feeling better. He's making plays, he's talking that talk, and he's just, overall, our defense is just playing better. Since Antonio Pierce has been the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, points per game, 15.3 points allowed, first in the NFL in those 7-week span. Defensive touchdowns, 4, first in the NFL. Sacks per game, 3.43, fourth in the NFL. Turnovers, a game, 1.9, tied 6th in the league. Yards per carry allowed, 3.93 yards, 10th in the league. Yards per pass attempt, 4.99 yards allowed, 11th. Passer rating allowed in 7 weeks, 87, 16th in the NFL. And now you have guys like Malcolm Kuntz who are starting to blossom and start to look like a legit pass rusher on the other side of Max Crosby, which is all that you needed. You just needed someone to take the pressure off of Max Crosby to get one-on-ones and to win. And he's been doing that for 3 weeks straight. He's been dominating every offensive line that he's come against. And when you have 2 pass rushers that are playing at a high level of football, Max Crosby obviously has been getting the Defensive Player of the Year, nods and just attention. Do I think he's going to win it? No. Just due to the fact that he's got double teamed a lot and he's had no help from early on in the season. Now Malcolm Kuntz finally starting to come along, our 3rd round draft pick out of Buffalo. In 2021, he's going out here, he's making plays, and he's just dominating the line of scrimmage. I mean, he has been an absolute nuisance the last 3 weeks, and it's great to see when you finally have someone to pair with Max Crosby on the other side and start causing some pressure. And then you have Tyree Wilson, who he has not had crazy numbers, but he's finally starting to get after the passer a little bit. You start seeing him just make some plays, make some tackles for losses, and just getting involved in the defense. And that's something you like to see keep progressing for our first round draft pick this past year. Again, and for those people who I know our offense is not good. It's terrible. It's not consistent at all. I mean, that's our biggest problem. We won the game with no completions after the first quarter. Is this sustainable for a playoff push? maybe. Obviously, we don't want to rely on the defense to have to score all our points, but however you're going to get it is however you're going to get it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we've got to be able to score points. We've got to be able to move the ball. We've just got to be able to get first downs and give our defense a break. I mean, the number one thing I hate to see for teams is when the defense is constantly on the field because the offense can't perform, can't produce, can't do anything. It's just too much for a defense to handle when they're constantly on the field. And I just think it's unfair to judge them when they get put in this type of situations. But I mean, listen, we've had a lot of criticism about our defense, saying that, we're not very good. We haven't been playing good defense. But Kansas City, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Minnesota Vikings, where we only allowed 3 points. Yes, still lost. Only allowed 3 points, though. Kansas City again. Miami, one of the highest scoring offenses in football, 20 points. The New York Jets and the New York Giants, which both teams we slammed and we controlled, and we did not even let them breathe, all right? So that's a 7-game stretch where defensively we just dominated. The one game against Kansas City, all right, you can say they had our number that day after blowing a 17-point lead. But again, it was a very competitive, it was a respectable game. It was a competitive first half, going in at halftime up 3. And then obviously in the second half just didn't go our way. Couldn't move the ball on offense, and just our defense could not hold Patrick Mahomes when they got hot. And it happens, it's just a part of football. But it was definitely a respectable game. And that's a 7-game stretch where defensively we are putting up these remarkable numbers, 15.3 points per game, which is something as a Raider fan you've never heard of. You've never seen a team where you can trust your defense not to give up more than 20 points a game, not to give up more than 30 points a game, in that matter of fact. And I mean, we only allowed one 300-yard passer this year. So again, this is just good stuff to look forward to. Is there a possible playoff push? Yes, I'm optimistic. I didn't really see it happening until we won last week against the Chiefs. You beat the Chiefs, obviously, then you can start having the discussion going with, you got to play Indianapolis coming up Sunday, then you got to go finish the year off in Denver. But obviously a lot of stuff has got to go right for us to have a chance to slip in there. We need to win out, obviously, the next 2 games going forward. We need Cincinnati to lose one in the next 2, which they play Kansas City this week. So, I'm looking forward to that. I believe the end of the year playing the Browns. So again, it's another game they could probably get knocked off. Pittsburgh needs to lose one of the next 2. They play Seattle, then they go play Baltimore. I'm hoping they just lose both just to make it safe for us. We need Jacksonville to beat Carolina. We need Houston to lose one of the next 2. They needed to lose 2 out of the last 3, and they lost last week to the Cleveland Browns. So now they got to lose once to Tennessee or to Indianapolis. So now I'm sitting here, and now we're having this discussion like it's real. And CJ Stroud, is he going to come back this next Sunday? We don't know. Listen, all I'm asking for is a chance. As a Raider fan, all I'm asking for is a chance. You dream, you're going to play every scenario in your head to be like, yo, we've got a chance to do this, to slip in, to make some noise, to, play a playoff game. And that's all you could ask for at the end of the day. After how terrible our season has gone, yes, we're right back into the 8-8, 8-9, 9-8 caliber teams, which is where we seem to end up for the last 4 to 5 years. But it is what it is. This time, a lot more optimistic about our defense than anything else. I do believe, obviously, with Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfrow, Michael Mayer, and even Austin Hooper in addition to that offense, we have too much talent on offense not to be scoring. Obviously, a lot of that has to go with play calling, Aiden O'Connell. It's tough. I mean, you can't really judge Aiden O'Connell off the fact that, one, he's had 2 different OCs and 2 different style of play calling throughout this year. The first couple starts he had, obviously he had Josh McDaniels, which we all know how that was going, and the questionable calls he made. And now you get, a running back coach who jumps into the OC spot. So it's tough, and there's a lot of growing to go there. You've got to really work some things out. You don't even know if he's truly an OC, a true OC at the end of the day, So this is all kind of, play and switch and feel how things are going. So is it a fair judgment on Aiden O'Connell? I don't think so. I mean, there's some good you've seen, there's some bad. And it's just like any other quarterback in the NFL. You've got to give him a full chance to go out and do that. You've got 2 more weeks to pick it up and to, show something for this upcoming offseason, this upcoming season. But at the end of the day, worst comes to worst, we draft a new quarterback in this draft. I mean, this draft is quarterback loaded. You have about 8 or 9 quarterbacks who have potential to have a somewhat of a high upside in the NFL. Do I like all 9 or 10 of those quarterbacks? No, I only like 1 or 2, and that comes down to Caleb Williams and not even Michael Penix, but I would say Jaden Daniels over anybody else. I'm not really a big Drake May fan as of right now. Michael Penix, again, he doesn't wow me when it comes to throwing the ball. Maybe I'm a bit biased because obviously he plays for Washington. I'm a USC fan, so it's like I'm a little bit, I want to see this guy lose and things like that. I'm going to be going for Washington for the college football playoff, so let's go. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know what their thing is. Go Pack. I don't even know what it is. Go Dogs? No, they're Huskies. I don't even know what it is, but whatever it is, go Washington this weekend. Boomer Sooner. Let's F Texas. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun weekend. But again, as a Raider fan, as all Raider fans, let's be excited going forward. We finally have a decent, solid defense who's playing at a respectable level, and you couldn't ask for anything better. Then you have Lamar Jackson, who answered all the critics. I mean, Lamar Jackson goes out here. He is getting called out by, the MVP committee, these guys are going out here saying he's not playing at an MVP caliber level. He should not be in this discussion. He's not one of those quarterbacks. He's not one of those guys. And he went out there and proved you wrong. Mike LaForio specifically said that they were going to get slammed. It was not going to be a competitive game. He said San Francisco was going to run through the Baltimore Ravens, and they came out here and they took that as disrespect. And that's exactly how they approached this game. And you've seen it on display Christmas night. I mean, they came out here and just manhandled. And Lamar Jackson, again, building his case to become a second-time MVP of the National Football League. My Super Bowl favorites, obviously, a lot of teams have jumped on the wave now of the Baltimore Ravens. But again, I was a big fan of the Baltimore Ravens in the offseason. Going forward, I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson. I've been a fan of him since he was at college, and I know he's had his playoff struggles. I know he has not looked great in the playoffs when teams have just keyed in on him and his ability to be a dual threat. I think this year, his ability, his willingness to throw the ball, to use his feet to extend plays, to throw the ball downfield is going to be the biggest difference maker between him and these previous Baltimore Ravens runs. I mean, last year, again, they were one goal line stand away from upsetting Cincinnati and going to play Kansas City on their own terms. So this team has been there. They were competitive last year with Tyler Huntley, and I do believe Lamar Jackson's ability and willingness to throw the ball, be a pass thrower first, is just what's going to make this team great. And the fact that his ability to run is still there. Like, you can't play him strictly pass once he starts darting you up, because then he'll just run everything underneath. So obviously it's a very scary athlete and player to play. One of the greatest athletes we've ever seen. And I think this is the year they finally put it together and make this Super Bowl run. Baltimore Ravens currently sitting at 12-3, first in their division, first in their conference. Lamar is on the verge of possible, maybe MVP hopeful, which would make his second of his career. I mean, Baltimore defense, 6th in yards per game allowed, 1st in points per game allowed, 1st in rush yards allowed, 12th in rush yards allowed, 6th in pass yards allowed. I mean, this defense all around just plays football, and they can get after the quarterback as well. 7-1 away record, 5-2 record at home. Baltimore, 372.1 yards per game, 3rd in the NFL. 159.7 rush yards per game, 1st in the NFL. 27.8 points per game, 4th in the NFL. I mean, this team currently has 10 wins on teams currently sitting in the playoff projection. If the season ended today, they would be in the playoffs. This has been the most competitive team. He is currently 17-1 against the AFC in his career, the NFC in his career. And I think this is the year he gets it done. This is the year they've got all the pieces. You bring in a guy like Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. His possible return could be in the playoffs if it happens. And if you bring this guy in, you get that first overall seed, you get that 1 week bye, give another week for Mark Andrews to get healthy and make a chance at return. Maybe you wait until the AFC Championship game if you make it there. Again, this can all be leading up to the perfect time for them to be healthy, for them to be at full health, for them, their offense to be clicking, their defense to be playing the right way, and it's just going to be great going forward. I mean, the next 2 games of their career, they got to go win next week against Miami to hold on to that number 1 spot and not lose a tiebreaker. They've got to go play Pittsburgh to end the year, and I just think Pittsburgh, we will see what goes on with Miami, because if they win and Miami loses this next upcoming week, or excuse me, if they win and Miami drops down, they could be sitting at the 1 seed all alone, so they might not even have to play Pitt. But we will see how that stuff goes. Again, I think it is clear cut. The Baltimore Ravens are sitting alone at the top of the number 1 team in the NFL right now, and I think San Francisco is close behind them. And for all you gambling degenerates who stayed till the very, very end, I do got a couple plays of the days for you. I got 3 plays that I'm really looking at. Take what you like. Take what you don't. I mean, use it if you want. Use it if you don't. I'm sharing 3 plays with you. 2 on Prize Picks or your underdog fantasy, whatever you guys like to use. The only reason I'm providing 2 is because you can't just do 1 on there, right? If you want 1 NFL game bet that you got for your bookie, your Bovada, your BetMGM, all that good stuff, Cleveland at the spread. I know it is 7.5, but Cleveland's 7-1 at the spread at home, 5-0 at the spread as a home favorite. The Jets are 1-3-1 at the spread after a win, which they did just pick up against the Washington Commanders, and the Jets are also 1-3 at the spread as an away underdog. I really do like this. I'm not too worried about the New York Jets scoring points with Trevor Siemian. The only game they stayed close and lost was against the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons, obviously, we know with Desmond Ridder, quarterback problems, right? I trust this offense enough. I trust Joe Flacco enough to take care of the ball and make plays when needed. Again, Cleveland is a team that's going to play great defensively, and I think the key to this victory is going to be them running the ball. Cleveland at 7.5. Take it if you want it. Take it if you don't. The 2 plays of the day, I got to give it to him. Kristaps Porzingis, I'm taking his rebounds over. Currently, it is bumped at 8. Originally, I believe it was at 7.5. I'm taking his over. I mean, in the last 4 out of 5 games, he's hit this prop sweat-free. Only 1 time has he pushed with 8. The Detroit Pistons, who they are playing today, give up. Have allowed the opposing power forwards to hit this prop against them 9 out of the last 11 games. Okay, just 2 props that 1 prop that I'm really liking, and another one is Bogdanovich points and rebounds over. He's been on an absolute heater lately, and again, 2 opposing small forwards and power forwards, just forward position in general. The Boston Celtics have allowed 4 out of the last 6 people to to hit this prop against them. So that's just 2 plays, 3 plays in total, 2 Prize Picks plays that I'm really, really liking. Both are unfortunately in the same game. Kristaps Porzingis has been dominating the glass lately. Just had a great performance where he racked up 12 boards against Anthony Davis. Jalen Duren is a solid center, but they are still young. They give up a lot of points and a lot of rebounds. So I am definitely leaning towards these 2 plays. Like if you don't, tail if you want. Let's just go out and let's make this money. With that being said, I appreciate everyone who's been listening to all my videos, been showing me love, liking the videos, all that good stuff, reaching out to me, telling me what they think, telling me what I should add and all this good stuff. The setup is going to be better. I'm going to add more to it. I'm going to keep building off of what I've got. Going to next week start bringing people on with me. I think that's the best thing for me. I feel like that'll just be more natural for me, talking with someone, arguing with someone a little bit, see how it gets. Still working on that, working out how to make a setup for that and get all those things situated. But with that being said, appreciate everyone for watching. Thank you for taking your time out your day to watch my video. And